Hello, welcome back or welcome to my channel. It's Sunshine Lorena and this is going to be my September TBR, choosing what I read based on the first line of the book. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know that this year I'm randomizing my TBRs with various different games and prompts, etc. This month I am choosing my TBR based on their first lines, but I actually don't know which first line goes with which book. I was supposed to film this early in the day. It is the evening now, so we're doing this with wine. So what I've done is I've got my husband to note down each of these first lines of these books, not in this order, it's in a random order. I'm going to read them, give you my opinions, choose them based on those first lines, and then we're going to find out which of these books are. When I gave him the instructions, I should have also told him to make a second list where it gave me the answer, but I didn't do that. So then I'm going to have to flick through these and find out which line goes with which book, but we'll get there. So that's how I'm going to choose it. So these books right here are from my 23 in 23 list because I've only read 6 so far and I wanted to read at least 80% of that list, which works out at 18.4 books. I'm going with 18, guys. Let's make it a little bit easier on myself considering I'm seriously behind. So I'm going to choose 3 books out of this list. I'm going to allow myself a little bit of mood reading this month since October is always my crazy reading month. There's always so many readathons. I take part in at least 2 or 3 different ones and my TBR is normally out of control. So hit that subscribe button if you want to see that chaos when it comes. So yes, I need to allow myself a little bit of mood reading. However, I might read these lines and it might increase the number of books I choose, but that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna get the lines up, we're gonna read them, and I will, give you my thoughts. Cheers, let's hope there is some good first lines on this list. Okay, first line number 1. They say you can spot a true Shengon and she by their hands. Palm colours by the stain of the earth, fingertips scarred from thorns, a permanent crust of soil and blood, darkening the crescents of their nails. That is a powerful first line. That is like hitting the nail on the head. This, I mean, I know that that's either going to be Magic Steeped in Poison or Six Crimson Cranes. It's one of those 2 books. Definitely gives fantasy vibes and yeah. It's gonna be one of those 2. Now, actually, what I forgot to mention is once I choose the books, I will give you the synopsis of the ones I choose. I'm not going through all of them, but that is a powerful first line. Okay, we're gonna have to move on. So, line number 2. The bottom of the lake tasted like mud, salt, and regret. Oh, that is interesting. Tasted like mud, salt, and regret. Regret. It's the regret that makes that line. The regret makes that line. And which book is that? It could be that it's Kintu, which is down here. Could be Kintu. I feel like it might be this one, but it's the regret. It's the regret on that end. It's just giving me a vibe of I need to read on. I need to find out because that just, oh, powerful, guys. Okay, let's go on to line number 3. 2 years before leaving home, my father said to my mother that I was very ugly. That's not something you want your parent to hear what your parents say about you. I know exactly which book that is because it matches with the synopsis. Like, I've read the synopsis many times because it's been on several of my TBRs this year, and that's definitely The Lying Life of Adults. So I do like that first line, and I've said so many times that I'm going to read it this year that do I put it on the list and actually read it, or put it on the list and then don't read it, because apparently that's what I do. But yes, it is in the synopsis, that one, so it's not giving me anything extra. I may need to read the second line of that one just to help me make my mind up, because I already know that it's that book just because it is in the right on the back, as you can see, which that wasn't very helpful at all. So the second line is, the sentence was uttered under his breath in the apartment that my parents, newly married, had bought at the top of Via San Giacomo dei Capri in Ritone Alto. It's giving a little bit more of the setting, a little bit more information. I still have 3 more lines, so let's continue on with this. All children except one grow up. That's obviously Peter Pan. I've never actually read Peter Pan. I've seen the Disney film and then like Hook and stuff, but I feel like I know what Disney does and what film do in general is they kind of don't follow the true story. That one was originally on my list because I have the Italian version up there, but guys, I'm so behind on reading my books that the Italian one is probably not going to be read this year. It could be next year, it could be this year, but I need to read the English version first, I decided, because I'm not familiar with the written one. And when I read Il Piccolo Principe, there is a vlog on my channel, I wasn't overly familiar with the story, so it made it a little bit harder reading in Italian. But anyway, that's a nice first line, and it kind of just sums up Peter Pan perfectly. Doesn't grow up. Okay, the second last line. It was odd the relief Kintu felt as he stepped out of his house. Okay, so that other one about the regret is not Kintu. That, I mean, I feel like I did not choose good books for this. I didn't know what the first lines are, but so many of them have been given away, and I was hoping that it was going to be like a complete surprise and secret, but I'm already matching these up. But that means I have no idea what that regret one is. I don't know which one that could be. That is interesting. Anyway, yes, it was an odd relief that Kintu felt as he stepped out of the house. Interesting. That one is about following generations. It's like different generations story. I think it's set in, the author's from Uganda, and it feels like that's the start of a journey, like for us to go back through it feels like the start of the journey. So it's a good starting line. And the very last one on here, I still remember the day my father took me to the cemetery forgotten books for the first time. Okay, I know what that one is. I really did not choose good books to like keep the first line secret, but that's obviously The Shadow of the Wind. I know that from the synopsis that it's around books. That means that regret line is one of these two. It's one of these two, and the other one is the other one. So I feel like these are the only two that I don't know which line belongs to which. Okay guys, I think I know which ones I'm choosing. I'm gonna tell you, and then I'm gonna have to, off camera, I'm gonna just look through and actually make sure I've got them all matched up properly, and find out which one, because like my number one pick is The Bottom of the Lake tasted like mud, salt and regrets, because that is just, it's such a good line. I just love that line, so that is my number one pick. Number two is gonna be All Children Except One Grow Up. I know that's Peter Pan, it's a short book. I'm trying to be kind to myself because I don't normally finish my TBRs, and I want to give myself a standing chance. And the third one, guys, this is so hard. This is so hard. Sometimes I think it's easier to do TBRs where it's prompts and things, and yeah. So, regret, Peter Pan, and then I am gonna go with 2 years before leaving home, my father said to my mother that I was very ugly, because like I said, I know obviously it is The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. This has been on several TBRs this year. I do actually want to get to it. I realise now that you can't see it's down there, but it's there, guys. But also there is the Netflix miniseries they adapted, and I said to my husband months ago that, oh, I just need to read the book and then we can watch it together. It's in Italian. He's Italian, so I thought it'd be nice for us to watch together, but I need to read the book first because that's what I do. And it has, I feel like that was February that I said I was going to do that. So we're talking 6 months. So I feel like I should get that one. But I'm actually going to choose a fourth one where, like I said, depending on the lines, I might have done this. But the fourth one that I'm going to choose is I still remember the day my father took me to the cemetery forgotten books for the first time. Start a new series, we're going to do it. But yes, let's find out, okay, which one of these was the regret one, because I know it's one of these two. So let's see. 6 Crimson Cranes, I'm looking at first. Oh, map, love a map. Oh, it is this one. Okay, so it's 6 Crimson Cranes. Okay, which means the first line was A Magic Steeped in Poison, which I really need to read because I have the second one as an ARC and it came out in January. But that'll be for another TBR, guys. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is, I feel like this is really messy at the start of this video, but fine, whatever. I am gonna just tell you the synopsis of each of these books that I have actually chosen. So that regret line, guys, that regret line is just, it is hyping me up for this so much. I wanted to read this anyway, obviously, but that line is just, I have high hopes. Like, my hopes are higher than they were before for this book, because that line just, it's giving. It is giving. So I love this cover. It is stunning. Look at that cover, love it. So this is fantasy, because when I made this list up at the start of the year, I was thinking that I was coming into my fantasy era. Now I am reading fantasy throughout the year, but apparently I'm just going back to being thriller girly, because I've just, over the last like couple of months, I'm just back in my thrillers, loving it, having a great time. But I do have some really good fantasies, but I've not become the fantasy girly that I thought I was going to be this year. But you know, that's fine. So this one, A Princess in Exile, 6 Enchanted Cranes, An Unspeakable Curse. So the princess has a secret, forbidden magic runs in her veins until she loses control on the morning of her unwanted betrothal and is discovered by her stepmother. A sorcerer in her own right, the stepmother banishes the princess, transforming her brothers into cranes and warning her that she must speak of it to no one, for with every word that escapes her lips, one of her brothers will die. But as Shiori searches for her brothers, she uncovers a dark conspiracy to seize the throne and to save her kingdom. She must place her trust in a paper bird, a miracle dragon, and the boy she fought so hard not to marry, and she must embrace the magic she's been taught all her life to contain, no matter what it costs. It is an epic synopsis, high hopes, that first line. I have really good feelings about this one. Okay, Peter Pan. Like I said, this is a short one. I've never actually read this. I've seen the films, not read this. There is illustrations in here. This one is bigger than I would have thought for the book this size, but this is like 269, so it's almost 300 pages, so I'm kind of glad that I am reading this before I attempt the Italian one, because that is a lot for me to try and get through at this stage. It's Peter Pan. I don't think I need to give a synopsis, but yes, Peter Pan lives in Netherlands where the children don't grow up, and he ends up, you know, meeting Wendy, and he ends up being Wendy, like visiting her one night. That sounds really weird when you say it like that. And he ends up taking her and a couple of her siblings to like Netherlands and exploring. There's Captain Hook. It is, I think, yeah, it is fantasy. It is gonna be cute. It's gonna be a good time. Then we have Elena Ferrante's The Lying Life of Adults. I have the Neapolitan Quartet there. I love her writing. I don't know why whenever I have this in my TBR, I never get to it. I keep kind of putting it off, but I do really enjoy her books. So I think I'm gonna enjoy this one. I want to see that Netflix series. But yes, this is set in Naples, as all our books normally are. From the trailer, I think it was the 90s, but I don't know if the book's actually set in that time, but it's not set nowadays. I think it's like the 90s or the 80s, I can't remember. And Giovanna is a teenager. I think her coming to age, but she is kind of torn between two versions of Naples. She is where her parents are. It's kind of, I think, like the fancier area, the richer people, more middle class, kind of that kind of neighborhood. And then her aunt, this is from the trailer, the aunt, because it didn't say it here, is in the other Naples, the underbelly, the dark side of Naples. And yes, her search leads her to two kindred cities that fear and detest one another: the Naples of the heights, which assumes a mask of refinement, and the Naples of the depths, a place of excess and vulgarity. I think it's gonna be so good. It's literary fiction. I've not read literary fiction in a while, so I think this is gonna be a really good one to pick up, and I will get to it in September, guys. I'm gonna get to this. I'm gonna read this in September. I will read it. I promise you, I will read it. Okay, so the final one that I've chosen here is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I have the second one on my shelves. I bought it when I was buying books from Waterstones during double stamps, because I had a good hopes for the series. I hear good things about it, and it's about books, and when a book is about books, how can you not want to read it? But I have the second one. It is a series. I can't remember if there's 3 or if there's 4 books. I'd need to double check, but it is an international bestseller. It is translated fiction. It is fantasy. I think it's going to be really good. And I just saw here, I didn't realize this before, but Stephen King has blurbed this, so that I have high hopes. I have higher hopes now. So one cold morning in 1945, a man brings his 10-year-old son Daniel to a labyrinth library of forgotten titles hidden in the old city of Barcelona. Allowed to choose one book, Daniel pulls out The Shadow of the Wind by Julian Carax. But as Daniel grows up, several people seem inordinately interested in his find. What begins as a case of literary curiosity turns into a race to discover the truth about the life and death of Julian Carax and to save those he left behind. It sounds magical. Like I said, a book about books. How could I not want to read this? It sounds amazing. So, hopefully I'm gonna like these ones, and those first lines live up to my expectations of these now. Let me know if you think I'm gonna enjoy them. Hit that like button, hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any other content from me, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. Bye!